The SAA Cabin Crew Association have presented a turnaround strategy to Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan to save SAA from collapse. The turnaround strategy highlights specific issues that SAA needs to work on in order to recover. The unions are currently meeting with the SAA board. Well, joining us now on the line is Numsa spokesperson Phakamile Hlubi-Majola. Thanks so much indeed for joining us on the line. I'm sure that it's been another difficult day for you. How did it begin? How did the meeting go with the Enterprise Minister?
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to your viewers. Indeed, we did meet with the Minister of DPE this morning, Mr. Pravin Gordhan. He was there together with members of his team, including the Director General and others, and it was Numsa leadership as well as the leadership of SAA. In our discussions, we gave him a very detailed presentation. This presentation spoke not only to ways to resolve the strike, but also ways to make the airline viable. Because as you know, Peter, our demand has always been not just a wage demand, but a demand in terms of how the board and the management operate. Excuse me. So, for example, one of the demands we had made was for insourcing, because we know that if we insource, that is a surefire way for the airline to recover its costs. So that was the nature of our discussion. I can't go into too much detail, but that's as much information as I can give you so that you get an understanding of what we were focusing on. The minister responded quite positively to what we had put on the table, and we are now waiting for a written response from the department so that we can take this process forward.
So an obvious question that jumps up at me straight away is, if you've known how to fix the airline, was it falling on deaf ears before? Is this the first time you've had an opportunity to present your ideas?
Well, this is the thing. We've been saying this for a very, very long time, and unfortunately it has been falling on deaf ears. It has taken the actions of our members where they've embarked on a strike that for us to actually get the attention of the necessary people and for them to take us seriously on these issues. Our goal on the strike was not to collapse SAA. Our goal was to force a change in the behavior of management so that we can save SAA. Staffing costs are not SAA's biggest problems. In fact, if you look at their financial situation, if every single worker was to work for free, SAA would still collapse. So that shows you that the problem is not the wage bill. The problem has always been and continues to be the 25 billion rand per annum procurement spend, which needs urgent intervention.
All right. How will insourcing help solve the procurement aspect? It's another expense line, though, isn't it?
Not really, because what we're actually demanding when we say insourcing, there are things that SAA internally has the capacity to do without having to outsource to other service providers. Many of the things, and we've identified those areas. Many of those things, for example, that they're outsourcing, some of them are being outsourced to multinational companies, and you can understand, when you include the exchange rate, what kind of impact that has. Some of these are evergreen contracts, which are bloated. Some of these are contracts which have been exposed in various forensic reports for being corrupt because of the costing. These are all things that we have raised at many, many different times, on many, many different avenues, where we've asked for intervention and for the board to actually deal with these decisively. But unfortunately, for the longest time, we were ignored. It literally took the strike for these issues to then be taken seriously.
All right. Do you acknowledge, though, that when you compare SAA to other airlines around the world, that on average, your staff cost compared to planes in operation is above average, and that perhaps more other airlines are more productive with the number of staff that they have?
Can you give me an example of that? Because if SAA is an international airline, Its total staff is 5,100 people. British Airways, as I understand it, is much more, in fact, almost double, I think, that. So I'm not entirely sure what comparison people are using. We are working on the fact that on the basis that this is an international carrier and not comparing it to other domestic airlines.
This is in comparison to British Airways, for example, but be that as it may, we've run out of time, and I just wanted to ask finally, perhaps, are you any closer in terms of your deliberations with the board and management to finding a resolution? Are you still far apart?
We are working furiously. This meeting only began about 30, 40 minutes ago. So we have committed ourselves to finding each other, and we are very hopeful that we will find a way forward. Ultimately, the strike is hurting all stakeholders. We would like to resolve this so that we can begin the work of actually saving this airline.
Are some of your members starting to go to work already?
Not as far as we know. As far as we know, our members remain committed to this process, and they are anxiously awaiting these talks that are taking place right now.
All right, so we'll leave it there. Thanks so much indeed, Ms. Phakamile Hlubi-Majola, who's the spokesperson of Numsa. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, Men's Day. I'm celebrating already.